Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Before we get into today's tune-up, I wanted to remind everybody to check out our affiliates at Hairy Tarantula and TCG Player, and you can help support the channel by following my socials or becoming a patron. Links to each are in the description. Let's take a look at what's in the workshop today. Premium patron Stephen Dunn writes, "The basic idea of this deck is to be on the defensive and take out big threats with Armix's ability. It's very artifact heavy and includes a lot of new toys from C21. I had finishers like Rise of the Dark Realms and Triumphant Reckoning, but games never seem to go long enough for them to matter. Marionette Master gets me wins more often than not, but now that my playgroup expects it, they know to shut me down. Can you help?" Well, first, Steven, thank you for choosing to support the channel. It's thanks to patrons like you that I'm able to keep doing this each and every week. Your commanders are the uncommon partner commanders of Rebbec and Armix, making for an Orzhov, black and white, duo. Since they both deal with artifacts, it's no surprise that's where you've chosen to take the deck. Even Armix himself is an artifact creature. Let's break down these two and see how they work together. First, Armix, Filigree Thrasher. As a 3-mana 3/2, Armix has an on-attack trigger, allowing us to discard a card. If we do, we can shrink an opponent's creature equal to the number of artifacts we have in play and in the graveyard. In a deck like this, it might as well be a destroy target creature effect that gets around indestructible. Rebbec, Architect of Ascension, on the other hand, is a far more defensive commander. This 4-mana 3/4 gives artifacts you control protection from every mana value among artifacts you control. That means if you control just Rebbec and Armix, Armix can't be damaged, enchanted, blocked, or targeted by anything with a mana value of 3. This means the wider variety of casting costs you have among your own artifacts, the more likely it is Armix is going to get to attack freely for that sweet on-attack trigger. Just be aware, Rebbec does not protect herself. That means everything we have is vulnerable if Rebbec is not in play. Your existing list is very interesting. There's some sneaky pieces in here that even I wouldn't have thought of. I especially like the inclusion of Ashnod's Transmigrant to turn Rebbec into an artifact creature so that she can benefit from her own passive ability. Very nice bit of tech. The inclusion of some new pieces from C21 like Lochiel as a draw engine and Digsite Engineer to get you massive constructs are both inspired, and a great use of new resources to push this theme a lot higher. With the volume of artifact creatures you have in the list, it looks like you'll be able to swing in with them pretty often, since Rebecc's protection ability makes them unblockable by anything with a mana value they have protection from. That means we could potentially lean much heavier into a combat scenario as a win con instead of just relying on non-combat solutions like Marionette Master. I especially like the addition of Tempered Steel here, making even a humble Ornithopter a 2/4 flying menace. All that glitters and especially cranial plating can be huge ways to get swingy fast. The new Bronze Guardian from C21 is another stellar inclusion. This massive double striker has a level of redundancy for Rebbec in making your artifacts harder to target. But in this list, it's also capable of being a huge attacking threat. I wouldn't be surprised if having a mostly unblockable Bronze Guardian ends up being the way you take players out more often than not. Now, with these great inclusions in mind, there are a handful that have me scratching my head. For instance, Inspiring Statuary seems like it'd be great in this list in a vacuum. However, when looking at the overall list, there's only about a dozen spells in the full 98 that can benefit from it. Statuary doesn't let you tap artifacts to pay for artifacts, and your list is like all artifacts. Speaking of paying for spells, your mana base is requiring a lot of work. It seems like you're currently suffering from overvaluing non-basic lands, as a lot of the lands you've included don't synergize with anything and don't add to your consistency or your strategy. Inclusions like the Cycling Lands, Mirrodin's Core, or Forge of Heroes don't do anything for you except eat up your land drops or prevent you from using lands for mana when you really need them. I understand you have a lot of colorless casting costs across the deck, but that doesn't mean you can open yourself up to the opportunity of not having colors when you need them. You could easily draw an opener that has nothing but colorless producing lands with no way to cast your commanders. You've also chosen to include the Urzatron. That's a call I'd only make if you have reliable ways to tutor them over the course of the game. Since you don't, even though the ceiling on them is very high in creating you 7 mana across 3 lands, the floor on them is that they're just more colorless producing lands with no additional benefit. Don't be afraid of including basics in your list. This goes out to you and just about everyone out there. Now your curve is also trending very high. You had mentioned in your initial email to me that you were previously using win cons like Rise of the Dark Realms, a 9 mana value spell, but took it out because more often than not you weren't able to cast it. If that's the case, why are you still including Phyrexian Triniform, Darksteel Forge, and Blightsteel Colossus, which cost 9 and 12 mana respectively? You have no way to cheat them out in particular, and you aren't ramping fast enough to make any more use of them than you were making of Rise. Seems to me like these would be pretty easy cuts to bring your consistency a lot higher. The best way I think we can make this deck a little bit more consistent is by working to lower that curve, improve consistency for mana generation, and work to improve your draw capabilities. Let's start with draw. You're currently using 3 main draw engines: Lochiel, Phyrexian Arena, and Reprocess. Lochiel is great, no denying that, but I think we can find better options for Arena and Reprocess. For instance, Greed is a spell that works like Phyrexian Arena, but in the end can draw you cards when you want them as opposed to only 1 per turn. Phyrexian Arena may not hurt as much, but it's gradual and incremental card draw, where an enchantment like Greed, or even Erebos, God of the Dead, can draw you cards when you want with unused life and mana. Reprocess is a one-time draw spell that can cost you much more than you get out of it. Think about all of the mana you'll have paid for the permanents you're sacrificing. You could end up paying 10 plus mana, diffused over several turns and several cards, to draw 3 cards. In the end, it is not worth it unless you're getting on sacrifice or on death triggers from artifact creatures. Instead, Siphon Mind, Sign in Blood, or Read the Bones are all more mana and turn efficient than Reprocess and even Phyrexian Arena, unless you can ensure Arena comes down on turns 2 to 3 reliably. The other thing that I want to lean into is a way to sacrifice more artifacts on demand, not just one time like with Reprocess. Armix triggers off of artifacts in our graveyard, and so do creatures like Disciple of the Vault, ending up being a valuable alternate path to victory. So including effects that sacrifice artifacts or creatures works wonders for us. Arcbound Ravager or Carrion Feeder can help us here, giving you ways to ditch creatures and artifacts in order to grow threats on board. And we can ratchet up our synergies even further with creatures like Sly Requisitioner and Cabal Paladin. The Requisitioner will help us replace our artifacts with servo creature tokens, growing our army whenever a non-token artifact dies. And Cabal Paladin acts like a gutter snipe when we cast historic spells, which any and all artifacts are. That is a great way to passively deal 4 to 6 damage to opponents each turn, making it easier for Combat or Marionette Master to finish people off. The last recommendation I'd like to make is for inclusion of Forsaken Monument. While it won't pump Armix, it will ensure that your Mirror, Constructs, and Servos all get +2/+2, and permanents that make colorless mana make double that mana. Colorless spells help reset some of your life total here too, and in a deck like this where you're using your life as a resource, all of these synergies help you to maximum advantage. For upgrades, there are a few that I'd recommend depending on how fast you want your deck to be. Mana generators and cost reducers would be the place to start, since your mainly colorless list can easily get artifact spells down to 0 mana. Cloud Key and Semblance Anvil would be great places to start, and even adding in Joyra's Familiar would be able to get anything costing 2 or 3 mana down to being free. That can allow you to have your mana paid towards activation costs or other effects. And if you want to get even more consistent, you can grab some more tutors. You have Diabolic Intent in the list, but Demonic Tutor was recently reprinted, and likely won't get any less expensive anytime soon, so it is a great time to pick one up and ratchet up that power level. So here is our list. We've got a few more ways to win either through combat damage or incrementally without going to combat. The curve has come down thanks to cutting the large spells that we noted weren't able to be cast at most times, and we've filled our mana base to be more consistent without tapped lands while still creating colored mana and colorless mana when we need them both. Be sure to let us know in the comments how you've changed your deck, Steven, and thanks for choosing to support the channel. Everyone else, let us know in the comments how you would continue to improve this deck. Until next time, folks, good luck and have fun! As always, a huge shout out to our patrons, without whom I wouldn't be able to keep doing this. A special shout out to our Lodestone Golems, Ben Frayne, Sterling Langford, Will Briggs, Ben Davis, David Norrie, Corey Whitaker, and Snipes, and our Metalwork Colossi, Austin Charlotte, Charles Olson, Matthew Chandler, Ben Shackelford, Pulsating Kiwi, Jim, Raphael Lum, Wyatt M, Timothy Conan, Matt Oakes, and Stephen Dunn. Thank you, everyone!